What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 9 of the Downtown Browntown podcast. I'm your host, Downtown Brown. Today we're going to discuss the Bucks win over the Orlando Magic last night, 129-99. Your leading scorers for the game, Giannis, 22 points, 8 for 16 from the field, 6 boards, 4 assists. In only 27 minutes, he picked up his 5th foul early on in the fourth quarter, and we never saw him since, which honestly isn't a bad thing because he is coming off a little minor back tweak that he suffered against the Utah Jazz, which forced him to miss the game against the Cleveland Cavaliers on Saturday. So for only 27 minutes and the Bucks to win by over 20 points, that's definitely a good thing. Chris Middleton comes in with 20 points, 9 for 17 from the field, with 10 boards and 3 assists. And Bobby Portis, in 25 minutes, scores 20 points, 9 for 13 from the field, with 5 rebounds. I mean, he's just proved to be such a great scoring threat for the Bucks off the bench. I'm really curious to see how he does against better teams because obviously, he's beaten up bad teams like the Cavs on Saturday and the Magic yesterday and some other bad teams, but against the Jazz he really struggled. So look to see what Bobby Portis can do, especially on the defensive end against some better opponents here. And also you have Bryn Forbes coming in off the bench with 14 points, 4 for 7 from the field, with 3 for 4 from 3. When Bryn Forbes is making those shots, especially from distance, the Bucks are a tough team to beat. He seems to put himself in the right positions to score, and he's got a good-looking shot. Just it's been a little inconsistent so far, but 3 for 4 from 3, you'll definitely take that. We're starting to see a little bit of a shooting dip from Jrue Holiday and Donte DiVincenzo. Jrue Holiday 0 for 4 from 3, Donte 1 for 3. Their percentages are starting to dip a little bit after they had a hot start, but again, through 10 games, Donte still has a three-point percentage of 47%, which is a big increase from his 33% last year. So I wouldn't be too concerned about it. I mean, there's always going to be ups and downs throughout the season, and as long as the Bucks are getting wins and we know that they can hit those shots when needed, I think we're all good to go. So with the win, the Bucks improve to 7-4, leapfrogging from, I think they were 5th in the East before the game, all the way up to 2nd. Obviously, they're tied with the 76ers, and we're only a half game back from first, which is the Boston Celtics, who are 7-3, who we lost to on a prayer shot by Jason Tatum in opening night. So again, we're going to go over some things that I liked from the game, as well as one or two negatives. There really weren't too many negatives from the game, but let's focus on the positives here. And my main positive is that the Bucks are making adjustments, specifically on the defensive end. Vucevic, who had 28 points, 4 for 10 from 3, 11 for 25 from the field, was cooking the Bucks in the first half. It looked a lot like Game 1 of the playoff series last year, the first round in the bubble against the Magic. Vucevic had his way with the Bucks, and when they were doing those high pick and pops towards the three-point line, they would just dish it to Vucevic. Our big would sag into the paint to prevent an easy dunk, and Vucevic would be wide open for a 3, and he was hitting them. And that did not change in the first half of last night's game. Vucevic came out hot. Gordon also played pretty well for them. 21 points, 5 boards, 8 assists, an 8 for 14 from the field. He had his way a little bit. Him and Giannis were definitely going at it. When they called that one blocking foul or charge on Aaron Gordon, which Steve Clifford challenged, and it was then reversed to a blocking foul by Giannis. And as well, Gordon had a pretty nice dunk on Giannis in the paint. But they were definitely going at it. Gordon is a pretty good player. I think he's underappreciated around the league. But, I mean, he can make plays. He's very athletic. If his three-pointer is falling, I mean, like it was last night, he made some really tough contested shots with a hand in his face from Brook Lopez, specifically one where he was on the top of the key. And, like, it doesn't even look like he was, like, looking to shoot or even looking at the basket, and he just hoists one up, leaning forward, jumping, and it just goes right in. I mean, if he's making shots, he's a very good player, and I thought the broadcast did a good job kind of highlighting where the Magic have been the last few seasons, kind of hovering right in that low tier of the playoffs. Steve Clifford's a good coach. They always play hard. It's one of those teams whenever the Bucks play them that they're not going to back down. They're going to play tough for 48 minutes and give it their all, and a lot of times it's going to keep them in games. They've got a guy like a Terrence Ross who's been a Bucks killer in the past. Is a great three-point shooter, good spark off the bench. They were missing Evan Fournier last night, who also has done fairly well against the Bucks in the past. Kind of crazy. They also gave out a stat about Terrence Ross during the broadcast that said he's made the most 3-pointers against any team against the Bucks. So out of any teams he's played in the league, he's made more 3-pointers against the Bucks. So certified Bucks killer right there, along with the Bojan Bogdanovic that I pointed out when we played Utah on Friday. These are guys that just always play well against the Bucks. So, but yeah, going back to the Magic and where they're trying to maybe go in the next few seasons, look for them to maybe be a team that decides to rebuild and trade guys like a Vucevic or a Aaron Gordon to get draft picks. Apparently next year's draft is very deep and has some very good players at the top of it as well. So if the Magic are kind of just hovering around that 7-8 seed like they have been in years past, look for them to maybe hit the rebuild button and make some splash trades. Again, they have made the playoffs the last 2 years as a lower seed, playing the Bucks in the bubble last season, ultimately falling 4-1. So, but getting back to the Bucks here, we're making lots of adjustments specifically on the defensive end. Like I said, Vucevic was killing us from the three-point line early on. They were doing a lot of high screen and rolls, and we were sticking to our normal drop coverage where the guy guarding Vucevic was staying back in the paint and trying to prevent the roller on the pick and roll from getting an easy bucket in the paint, and Vucevic just knew that, and he'd hit that wide open three and drain it. But in the second half, the Bucks were switching more, specifically big to big switching. If you recall in the Utah game, one thing that was really giving our struggles was the guard to guard pick and rolls, like from a Mike Conley to Jordan Clarkson, and Clarkson just absolutely killed us from the 3-point line in that game. The Bucks did start to make some adjustments later on I think it was in the third quarter, and a little too late because Clarkson was absolutely torching us. I think a lot of that honestly is part of how Drew Holiday plays. He is always known to switch on defense, and I think he's bringing that mentality to the team and maybe to Coach Bud and saying, hey, I don't need help. I don't need any, I can guard anyone basically. And I can get through screens and that sort of thing. So normally when they're doing their drop coverage and whatnot, that's going to affect the way Drew defends, but now he fights through screens, and if he needs to switch, he can have someone switch onto him. But I think he's bringing that sort of scheme to our defense, and it's really paying dividends so far. And it will, specifically in the playoffs, because we all know that this is one thing that's really caused the Bucks trouble in the last 2 playoff runs, is this drop coverage that they've been doing, specifically when we played the Raptors, when you had guys like Gasol and Lowry and Van Vliet, like either Lowry or Van Vliet and Gasol, Siakam, and Ibaka were running these pick and rolls, and they were just giving it to Gasol, giving it to Ibaka, and knowing that our guy was going to sag into the paint, and they just hit those wide open threes. And once Gasol started knocking down threes, it turned into be a long series for the Bucks, and we all know how that ended. So it was really nice to see the Bucks make adjustments in the second half. Vucevic was not effective from 3 in the second half. He did miss a couple that were wide open, but he was definitely having a hand in his face from a Brook Lopez or a Giannis. So really good adjustments to see here, and obviously they did make these adjustments against the Jordan Clarkson in Utah as well. So it's going to look a little ugly at times. This is a total change defensively from a scheme perspective for them. So it's like I said, it's going to look ugly at times. We've got to just let them figure it out. They've got 61 games left to kind of iron out how they want to play their defense. I mean, expect in some games they're probably going to run the drop coverage in the beginning and then see how it's going. If it's not working, then they'll adjust hopefully sooner than later, not even waiting till halftime sometimes. Maybe they can just have a cadence or something that Bud gives them, like, hey, we got to switch this up, it's not working. Or there's hopefully games where they just start switching all together and trying to fight through ball screens a little bit more. So I think it's all good signs. I mean, we haven't seen the Bucks make any defensive adjustments the last 2 seasons, specifically in the playoffs. So to see any sort of change like this is a good thing, but just take it with a grain of salt for now. It's not going to change overnight where all of a sudden they're this elite switching team or anything like that. We just know that it's going to take time, and all that matters for the Bucks this year is the postseason. So if they can get this figured out, I think it's going to be huge for them and ultimately lead to more success come this postseason. So a couple other things I liked from the game. I alluded to it earlier. Bobby Portis is really playing well offensively. I mean, he's not afraid to take shots. We all know that. I don't love the mid-range shots he takes sometimes where he just kind of like does a little Carmelo Anthony jab into the defender and then just shoot. But he's been making them, and he hit multiple wide open 3-pointers yesterday. His energy, I think, is unnoticed as well. A big man who can run the floor like that really pays dividends for a team. When you've got these athletic bigs who, when you're out on the fast break, you got a Bobby Portis running down the lane, give it to him, and he's gonna put it in. DJ Augustine had a super nice pass to him where he kind of just like was already under the basket when he received the pass and just put it right in the bucket. I mean, he's been fantastic for the Bucks so far, and if he's putting up, that 15 point per game-ish mark consistently, I mean, that is absolutely huge for them. We haven't had a player like Bobby Portis really at all, coming off the bench specifically. Just the way he plays on offense, his energy, he's a dog. He gets in people's faces. I know there was one time he hit a 3 and he was right in front of the Magic bench, and he just turns around and just either says something or gives them a look. Like, we don't have a lot of guys like that, and I love it. I think that we need some chippy players like that, looking at guys, like a Michael Beasley that we've had in the past few years. Even Greg Monroe played with a little bit of attitude. So I like guys like this, especially someone like Portis who can put up buckets and back up some of his talk. So he's been fantastic. I still worry about his defense against better teams and his ability to score against better teams. I just don't know if he's done that consistently. Like I said earlier, I think he's beat up on a lot of bad teams more so than dominating consistently. So that's something to keep in mind, and I'm definitely going to be paying attention to that when the Bucks start playing some better teams coming up here. I know they've got Dallas on Friday, Lakers next Thursday. So those are going to be some better teams for them. So I'm going to keep a close eye on how Bobby Portis plays on offense and defense. So, but overall, great stuff from Bobby. Hope he keeps it up, and he's going to be absolutely huge for this season, and he's already showing it. I think being in the winning culture really helps him. He's never been on a winning team, so just him understanding that we're all trying to win a title here, and just knowing his role and sticking to it. I think that he's done a good job with that so far. So we'll look to see what he does going forward. Like I said, when we play some better teams here. Some other positives as well. I'm going to go back to Jrue Holiday. His defense was outstanding last night. He just knows how to reach and get that ball out of there. The guy is just unbelievable. He's always around the ball. There was one play specifically where I think it was Dante stole the ball and then, it was they got a rebound, or we got a rebound, we lost it, and then we were right under their basket, and Jrue just gets the ball right back, just steals it from him quickly, and it's just like, you just don't even notice those things sometimes. The guy's just an absolute natural in terms of on-ball defense, and it's totally showing for the Bucks here. And not only that, the way he moves his feet and just makes it hard for defenders or opposing offensive players to get to the rim is just absolutely fantastic. I mean, that play he had on Aaron Gordon. First off, Aaron Gordon 6'7", Drew Holiday 6'4". I mean, that's a noticeable size difference there. And there were a couple times where Drew just started guarding Aaron Gordon, and he shut him down because he was killing us earlier on in the game. But Drew Holiday just played him so well. And that one play where he was moving his feet on him, and he put up the shot, and Drew blocks it and just had his hand on the ball the whole time, which caused a jump ball. I mean, that's just such a huge play. And for him to be able to do those things and just make them look easy has been such a huge upgrade for the Bucks. I mean, Giannis alluded to it in his post-game interview, saying that having a guy like Drew who's like, hey, I don't need help. Like, I can guard 1 through 4s, and he said he can even guard some 5s at times. Like, just having that mentality in your starting lineup, your starting point guard, having a dog like that who can just absolutely lock people down on defense, just totally changes the attitude for everyone else in the game, and just, makes them focus more on defense. And Drew has just been nothing short of spectacular in that regard. Holding the Orlando Magic to 99 points, that's a good thing for the Bucks. Obviously, they were out a couple players there, but again, they were 6-4 coming into the game. Now they're 6-5. I mean, they've been playing pretty well this year. So this was a very nice game for the Bucks, specifically Drew Holiday's defense, as I alluded to there. And my other main positive from the game here is that the Bucks totally took control of the game in the fourth quarter. The Orlando Magic cut it to, I want to say, 6 points in the fourth quarter, and I myself was getting a little nervous, like, oh boy, here we go again. Are the Bucks going to blow this 15-point lead that we just had and make this a tight game in the fourth quarter? We have to have all of our starters in for extended minutes, but no, that didn't happen. Even with Giannis out of the game, Chris Middleton just took control of that game. I mean, he's such a great offensive player. The plays he was making, he made him look easy, and he really willed the Bucks to that win, and everyone just built off his confidence. Bobby Portis and Middleton and Forbes specifically really took control of that fourth quarter, and this is something that you want to see from the Bucks. I know we've had struggles in past years closing games, not as much the last 2 years when we've been more dominant in the regular season, but all the years before that, especially going back to the Jason Kidd era, Jabari Parker, Greg Monroe, MCW days, even back, all those guys. Anytime we'd have a fourth quarter lead, even if it was 10 plus points, I never felt confident. I was like, well, this is the same old Bucks. They're going to let the team back in, have 5-6 sloppy offensive possessions of turnovers, bad shots, all that kind of stuff, and the team's just going to end up taking the lead, and we're not going to be able to get it back. But seeing the Bucks change that narrative the past 2 seasons, and this season it's been a little up and down, but to see them close out the fourth quarter like that was great. I hope they can keep that up, and they're going to have to against some better teams here coming up. So overall, that was probably one of the most things I was most pleased about this game, was just the ability to be like, all right, we're done with this. We're taking this game, we're winning it, and we're going home. And that's it. So really good stuff from the Bucks there. I'll go over the one main negative, and it is Thanasis in a way, but it's more so just not being able to figure out that piece of the rotation. So obviously they started with DJ Wilson in the beginning of the year. He didn't look great. He looked sloppy, clumsy, not very aggressive on defense, just not making many shots on offense. So they went to Thanasis, and right away I thought he provided a huge spark in that first game against the Miami Heat. He made some really great plays for them. Just pure energy. I mean, the guy that's his he doesn't have a lot of talent. He's super athletic, but the one thing he has is he has a high motor. He plays 110% every second he's out there, and sometimes it's to the Bucks' demise, but a lot of times it's to their favor. And him getting hustle plays, saving rebounds. He had a really nice over-the-head pass off a saved ball that was about to go out of bounds and ended up being an easy 2 for Bobby Portis. I mean, just little plays like that don't show up in the stat sheet. That's kind of what Thanasis does. But he has absolutely no repertoire of offensive skills. I mean, even though he does play with a high motor on defense, sometimes he's a little out of control, getting a lot of fouls and forcing teams to get on the free throw line, which is not what you want. So I don't think this is a guy that you can play consistently going down the stretch of key games, especially in the playoffs. Like, is he going to get minutes in the playoffs? That's a big question for the Bucks. Or are they going to turn to a guy like a Jordan Nwora, see what he can do? Like I said, I feel like he's still been a little lost defensively, but he can provide a spark on offense. You got to get something from this position here, and I think the Bucks are trying to figure that out. And it looks pretty rough sometimes, with Thanasis out there at times, but I think he's going to get a couple more opportunities, and I hope that if he doesn't if he doesn't see continued success, then they go to Jordan Nwora and be like, all right, see what this kid can do. And who knows what they'll end up doing at that point if he also doesn't make worth of his minutes. Maybe, they'll look for a trade later on, closer to the trade deadline, or the buyout market is always enticing. They picked up Marvin Williams of the buyout market last year, which I thought was a great pickup, and I thought he played pretty well for the Bucks last season, being able to switch on defense and hit open threes. It's really all you need from a guy like that. So that's really the one negative I had, and it stuck out in this game, is I just thought Thanasis was really out of control, and although he made some nice hustle plays, I just don't think he provided much value out there at all, and just that uncertainty of that backup 4 spot, because I think Bobby Portis is really their backup 5, it seems like, since he comes in for Brook Lopez off the bench usually. But again, I think just not knowing where that is gonna, or who's gonna play that position for them going forward is going to be a bit of a concern, especially if injuries start to pop up. So that's really my main negative from this game. Other than that, I mean, the Bucks played great basketball, and they started off a little shaky, but again, making those adjustments, closing the game in the fourth quarter, just nice defense all around from guys like Jrue Holiday. I thought Pat Connaughton had a really nice impact on the game. Marcus brought up a good point where there was a stretch in that third quarter where the game was just kind of really fast-paced and getting a little out of control. Not really like the Bucks losing control, but no one could really just slow the game down and control it at their own pace. And Pat Connaughton's really good in those positions. He got some key big rebounds, hit a really nice three-pointer. I thought he's made really good with his minutes the last few games that he's played before and after the injury. So a lot of Bucks fans were crying for Pat Connaughton to not play at all, and since he was not playing great in the beginning of the season. But I think he stepped up and played really well. I've always been a Pat Connaughton fan. His energy, he's like at every rebound, trying to get every rebound. And if he's making shots, that's the thing for him. If he makes shots, I mean, he is definitely a positive for the Bucks. If he doesn't, then there's not a whole lot of value for him unless he's really clamping down on defense, which he has the ability to, but he struggles with guys with a lot of speed and power. And but again, if he's making shots, and he's always going to be a factor on rebounds, so if he's doing that, I mean, he's definitely a positive and someone who should be getting 15-ish minutes a game, because we need guys like that. Having Dante in the starting lineup, who's a similar player in some aspects, he has a lot more versatility on offense, and I think his defense is a little bit more consistent, and he's better at stealing the ball and getting himself in the passing lanes. But again, I thought Pat Connaughton's played really well, and I look forward to seeing what he can do with his minutes here, and hopefully he can keep making shots, because if he's a big time player for the Bucks off the bench. So overall, great game for the Bucks here. The Bucks square off in Detroit tomorrow night against the Pistons. See if we can get our third win against the Pistons in 10 days. Should be a good game for them. And then the Bucks face the Dallas Mavericks on Friday night. The Mavericks did have yesterday's game postponed due to COVID issues, so be on the lookout for that to see if that impacts the game on Friday. I really hope it doesn't. The Bucks have really struggled against the Mavericks in past few years. They lost to them in the bubble last year. They lost to them both games in the preseason, albeit this season. And that's just a team that's caused them a lot of problems. Porzingis is going to be suiting up for them. in their next game, and probably against the Bucks too, unless he suffers some complications with the injury there. But again, gonna be a tough game for the Bucks. Can't wait to see how they try and defend Luka. If they just throw Drew Holiday on Luka and see what he can do, or maybe have Dante and Middleton kind of shadow him as well. I mean, Luka makes plays for everyone. He makes everyone on his team better, and he's just an absolutely fantastic player. So can't wait to watch that, and hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, just want to give a shout out to my boy Simi, who made my logo for me. If you've seen it, it's great, and I really appreciate him for that. Again, if you haven't already, follow him on Instagram at Simeon Tomich Designs. He does absolutely great work. So Simi, thanks again for your help there. And also a big shout out to my buddy Dylan Trapp, who I'll be writing an article for his newspaper that'll be coming out soon on the Bucks. So look for that as well. His newspaper is titled Brady Street Banter. And if you're looking for a copy of it, reach out to him, and he should be able to help you out. So thank you guys so very much. And again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you can also follow me on Twitter at downtown_Brown and on Instagram at downtown_Brown33. Thanks again, guys. Go Bucks.